This is Academic Chemistry 4.2, Structure of the Atom, Part 5. This is the last video that's going to go through a scientist's addition to the atomic model until we get to Chapter 5. And later in Chapter 5, we're going to talk about some more guys and what they did. So this is Chadwick, and he figured out our last subatomic particle that we really talk about in high school chemistry, which is the neutron. So a lot of what Chadwick did, besides in the lab, we're going to talk about just what he did with logic. So first, he knew that there must be something else in the nucleus, and the first way he knew that is based on the mass. So we know that most of the mass comes from, protons and neutrons. So if you don't know that neutrons exist, then you think all the mass must come from protons. All right, so we've got electrons as well. At this point, we knew that protons existed and they were in the nucleus, and we knew that electrons existed and they're floating around on the outside. We also knew the mass of each of those. So protons are way bigger than electrons. And when you talk about the mass of an atom, the electrons are so tiny that they don't even influence the mass. You would need a gazillion electrons to make up for any kind of substantial part of the mass of one atom. So if you have a helium atom with 2 protons over there, so that's a 2 mass, all right? And then over here, you've got one hydrogen with 1 proton and another hydrogen with another proton. You should expect them to both have a mass of 2. But what happens is this helium is actually more massive. It has more mass to it. So since the masses don't match the number of protons alone, hydrogen has a mass of 1 with 1 proton, but helium has a mass of 4, but only has 2 protons, then there's got to be something else in there that's giving helium those extra bits of mass. The next thing Chadwick thought about is that protons are all positively charged. So if that's the only thing in the nucleus, then the nucleus wouldn't stay together. So there has to be something else in there because those protons would all repel each other. So with these clues, Chadwick did a series of experiments and he found the neutron. So the neutron is the same size as the proton. It's a big subatomic particle. Remember, they're all still incredibly, incredibly small. It's the same location as the proton, but there's no charge. So that way it's able to kind of be that bouncer between those 2 positive protons. So if you have a positive proton and a positive proton, and then in between it is a neutral neutron, then those protons have some buffer space between them. So protons and neutrons are called nucleons because they both reside in the nucleus. So out of your nucleons, you've got these positive protons and then these neutral neutrons. That is what Chadwick discovered. And he named it in honor of the nucleus because that's where they were. All right, so now you know how the protons, electrons, and neutrons were all discovered in the atom. So good luck learning more about the atom in the rest of the lessons ahead this school year.